This old-time radio program was originally aired live, long before the advent of high fidelity. As a result, you may detect an occasional surface noise or volume drop due to transmission problems so common to old radio. We hope, however, that any variance in audio quality will not take away from your pleasure in listening to this, one of the all-time favorite shows.
Welcome to radio's Horror Theater. Professor Frocklick was working late in his study when suddenly the door opened. Looking up, the professor saw a hideous monster. He let out a scream of horror. Before Professor Frocklick could move, the monster grabbed him by the throat. A terrible struggle ensued. The professor's pleas for help were to no avail. Then he managed to break free of the hideous monster's grip long enough to open his desk drawer, where he removed his revolver and fired 6 shots into the beast. But the professor's bullets seemed to have no effect on the indestructible monstrosity, as it carried the helpless scientist off to that strange place that only monsters know. And so the door closes on another episode of Horror Theater. Nice work, Harry.
We welcome to radio once more, Jan Kidd. Jan's father is the late Richard Thorne, longtime radio announcer on WGN Radio in Chicago, and creator of the classic old-time radio series, The Hall of Fantasy.
It's my pleasure to be here. I'm really looking forward to this.
Did your father ever say what aspects of his career he enjoyed the most?
He did. When my dad broke into radio, it was close to the end of the golden age of radio. But he absolutely loved his work in radio, and that was truly his first love.
And he did it so well.
Absolutely, I think so.
Your father, who was a Chicago native, spent a couple of years working at a radio station in Salt Lake City, Utah. And it was here where he created the Hall of Fantasy, although these earlier episodes of the Hall of Fantasy were more traditional mysteries. He then returned to Chicago, where he worked at WGN. And it was here where your father's Hall of Fantasy scripts became more supernatural in tone. Did your father ever share any of his philosophy with you about his script writing for the Hall of Fantasy?
You know, Johnny, I asked him where he got those ideas, because these scripts still scare me. And I've heard them, the ones that are available now. I've heard them many times. And I remember as a child being absolutely terrified. I did ask him how he got the ideas of what he was writing about, and he said that there were 3 major themes that one could use when they were writing. The first was man against man, the second was man against the elements, and the third was man against the unknown. And he said, by far the most terrifying is man against the unknown. So that was his goal, to make a scary show, and I think he did it very well.
Wow, that is great philosophy. The unknown is usually the most terrifying in many walks of life.
Oh, right.
Now, regarding the wonderful radio series, The Hall of Fantasy, this was definitely your father's baby. He was the creator, writer, either writing original scripts or adapting classic stories. He was the producer, director. He acted in most of the episodes, and he was the announcer as well. He was more or less the Orson Welles of the Hall of Fantasy. Now, with all these hats that he wore during the production of the Hall of Fantasy, did he ever give you an indication what part of the total process he enjoyed the most?
Gosh, that's a really difficult question, Johnny. Dad he loved the Hall of Fantasy, and I mean, this was a long time ago, and he really really enjoyed writing, acting, directing. My guess is he probably enjoyed the directing and the writing the very most, but he was a gifted actor and was able to do a variety of accents and characters. Usually he would play an older man. When he was writing these scripts, he was in his 20s. So um, he comes across as an older person because of that deep voice. But he really was quite young at the time.
Wow, he really was like Orson Welles. Orson Welles was also in his 20s when he was working on in Mercury Theater, and 25 when he directed Citizen Kane.
Uh huh.
That's fantastic. And we mentioned that your father was the announcer of the Hall of Fantasy, making use of his tremendous deep voice while introducing each episode. So here we have Richard Thorne introducing the Hall of Fantasy.
And now, the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the series of radio dramas dedicated to the supernatural, the unusual, and the unknown. Come with me, my friends. We shall descend to the world of the unknown and forbidden, down to the depths where the veil of time is lifted, and the supernatural reigns as king. Come with me and listen to the tale of...
Now, this is, in my opinion, one of the best radio openings ever. Jan, what goes through your mind when you hear this incredible opening?
Oh my, Johnny, I tell you, I'm just sitting here smiling. Um, Dad passed away in 2007, and it is such a thrill for me to hear him. And I do occasionally, his voice will pop up on various training films or other things where I don't expect it. But I absolutely love that intro to the Hall of Fantasy because that's my dad. You know, as kids, my siblings and I would sit around and we just laugh and imitate Dad. You know, come with me, my friends. And it was just a fantastic experience. So it creates sort of an expectation, and I know I'm going to be scared.
Definitely. Now, he definitely had the gift with that deep, booming voice for radio, but around the house, was his voice, his regular voice, a lot different? How would you say the difference between his radio voice and his just around the house voice?
He sounded just the same.
Oh, wow. I was not expecting that.
Oh no, that is not his radio voice. That is just Dad's voice. As young children, my family lived across the street from a park in Chicago, and the street was a very busy street. There was an underground passage to get through. And when my mom would take us over to the park, we would all stamp our feet as we went through and be, come with me, my friends. And
Oh, that's
we would
great.
just imitate Dad as we went over to the park to have fun.
Well, this is the beautiful thing about old time radio that each individual listener conjures up their own unique visual images in their mind.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that makes Hall of Fantasy a scary show. Because I think in your imagination, you can achieve way more frightening things than you can achieve, say, just by television. I know at one point there was interest in putting Hall of Fantasy on television. Television was just in its infancy in that early 50s era. But the cost to put it on television to create the images that were just being created by words and sounds was tremendously prohibitive. So I think your imagination is a huge part of the radio experience.
I agree. And in the early 1950s television, they had limited sets. limited technology, and as you said, your mind, there are no boundaries. And I'm sure that had the Hall of Fantasy moved the television, most people would be saying, well, it was good, but not as good as the radio show.
Exactly.
In fact, when Suspense moved the television, people say the same thing about that. Lights Out moved the television. This is the same story. The Hall of Fantasy, which originally was a local show, was picked up nationally and was broadcasted on the Mutual Broadcasting System beginning in 1952. From what you recall from past conversations with your father, how did you feel once he found out that his creation, the Hall of Fantasy, became a national radio program?
That was really a thrilling time for him. Of course, I was quite young at the time. I think I was probably 4, but I did speak with him about that in later years, and he said that was just a fabulous development for them to have the Hall of Fantasy recognized as having the value to become a nationally syndicated program was a huge plus. And I think he was really proud about that. He wasn't proud about a lot of things, but he was proud about that achievement.
It had to be amazing knowing that your creation was now being heard coast to coast.
Absolutely. He loved it.
And Jan, you had the opportunity to sit with your father and listen to recordings of the Hall of Fantasy with him. Can you share any special memories that you may recall from some of these times that you spent with your father?
Actually, the last Christmas before he died, one of his Christmas gifts was an MP3 player that had Hall of Fantasy versions, Hall of Fantasy episodes recorded on it. And we sat and listened to those, and I think there were 32 episodes. And Dad he just loved it. And he would relate anecdotes about how the different special effects were done. The organist, I don't recall meeting, I probably did. His name was Harold Turner, and he's the one that played the spooky music. And, Dad would sit there and we'd be listening to this scary thing, and he'd just be laughing because he'd be saying, oh, well, that's so-and-so, and we had a creaky door, and that's what they're doing, So it was really interesting to see because, of course, his viewpoint was from the production aspect, where, we were just listeners. But he knew and was reliving the actions that had gone on while these episodes were being broadcast. They were broadcast live. So, I mean, it wasn't a pre-taped thing. They actually did live productions, and the rain and the lighthouse sounds and the jackal. There's jackals in a lot of those, so there'd be a jackal howling, and Dad would just be laughing because, oh yeah, well the sound man is doing this, So it was a wonderful way to relate to experiences that he had as an adult, and I really didn't know anything about.
Jan, it's amazing that we are discussing a radio show that your father created more than 60 years ago. So with this endurance, how do you feel your father would have felt about this in today's world?
Hall of Fantasy was his very favorite endeavor. He really put his heart and soul into the show, its production, selecting the actors, and having the episodes be entertaining and something that the public was very interested in listening to. I think Dad would be humbled and very pleased that there are still people who find the Hall of Fantasy fascinating and worthwhile endeavor. It's very entertaining stuff. There are still episodes I do not like to listen to, and he did a really good job of creating a very mystical uh, experience. So I think he would be very, very happy. He'd be very pleased. I mean, he was my dad, and I think he's very talented, but it's really wonderful to have people contact me and say, can we talk about Hall of Fantasy?
Well, again, we really appreciate you spending some time with us on radio once more, and I do believe the Hall of Fantasy will continue indefinitely.
You gotta put down with it, please.
Pedestrian blocks the G.
And now, the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the series of radio dramas dedicated to the supernatural, the unusual, and the unknown. Come with me, my friends. We shall descend to the world of the unknown and forbidden, down to the depths where the veil of time is lifted, and the supernatural reigns as king. Come with me and listen to the tale of The Night the Fog Came.
It came from our right. We'd better take a look. Come on. We're getting close to the lake. Only this fog. Wait a minute. There. Right there. Let's take a look. I hope he's all right. Roll him over. All right. He's dead. I know. Do you realize how he died? What do you mean? Look at him closer, Hal. His clothes aren't wet. Even his hair isn't wet. But look at the water trickling from his mouth. This man died less than a minute ago on dry land, 200 yards from the lake. And he died by drowning.
In just a moment, the Hall of Fantasy will present The Night the Fog Came.
If the theory of evolution is correct, then there is a connection between the minute organisms which are found to be living in water and life as we know it today. But what connection with us did those things have which came from out of the fog? What connection with human life did those horrible creatures who came from the depths have? And what is their purpose? Why did they suddenly appear and destroy, then vanish as suddenly as they had come? I shall tell you as much as I know about it. Listen to the tale of The Night the Fog Came. The first inkling of their existence came to us as we were going through some routine research. I dropped over to the lab to see Hal. Harold Enroth was perhaps one of the foremost men in his field. Our friendship stretched back for many years. I'd been away for a while, and so I dropped in at the lab to see him one morning.
Jeff, you old dog, you're a sight for sore eyes.
How are things going, Hal?
Fine, couldn't be better. How'd you like your vacation?
I can't wait till next year. I hated to come back.
You know, Jeff, I'm glad you dropped in. I have a little problem.
Oh? What is it, money?
No, not that. Here, I'll show you. Pull those blinds, will you?
Sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
There you are.
I have a specimen here on the slide. I want you to take a look at it.
Go ahead. Turn the projector on.
All right. There. What do you think of that?
I don't know. It looks like some form of water life. But I don't think I've ever seen it before.
This has been enlarged 100 times. There's no use trying to recognize what it is. It's a form of water life completely unknown to us.
A new form of life. Where did you get this?
It's a specimen of water one of our field researchers took from the westernmost tip of Lake Superior, somewhere near the Wisconsin-Minnesota border.
Have you contacted anyone else about it?
No.
Why not?
Well, it's...
Come on. Don't try to avoid telling me, Hal. We know each other too well for that.
All right. Listen to me, Jeff.
All right.
Everything I say is fact. I've conducted countless tests to discover what I do know about this form of life. That thing is able to reproduce itself.
A Hydra type?
Possibly. But that's beside the point right now. What's more important, all trace of the other organisms in that drop of water has disappeared.
Are you serious?
Of course I am. And another thing, there was a little mist hovering above what was left of the water.
A mist?
That's what I call it. Something like fog.
Why, that's impossible.
No, it's not. I know that when the water evaporated, it should have been dispersed into the air. Eventually it was, but not for several hours.
Oh, I'm sorry, Hal. I still can't.
Here, I'll show you. We have a little of the water left. It's over here in this jar. You can see for yourself.
Well, it looks just like ordinary water.
I know it does. But believe me when I say it isn't. Now, it'll take just about 3 minutes. Do you see what's happening?
I can't believe my eyes.
See that little cloud of misty vapor beginning to form like fog?
Yes. But what causes it?
I wish I knew. Our field men say the conditions up there are getting to be unbearable. The whole area for 100 square miles is almost covered completely by this fog.
What are you going to do?
Well, I'm going up there myself. And Jeff, if I send for you, will you join me?
Of course.
I may need you. I may need everyone I can get. It's begun to prey on my mind, Jeff. Somehow I think there's something in back of this. Something the likes of which the world has never seen. Something evil.
Hal went up there the afternoon of the morning I had seen him. At first he wrote that the reports had been exaggerated. Then he discovered that all traces of the new form of life had disappeared. He decided to return. I was quite glad to get that letter from Hal. Before he had gone up there, he had been quite worried. The only thing I couldn't understand was what had become of the new water life form. The day before he was to return to the city... Hello?
Jeff, this is Hal.
Where are you? I thought you...
I had them put me through direct to you, Jeff. I need your assistance.
What's the matter?
I've already called Arnold Simpson and Jack Racco. They've agreed to come. I need you too, Jeff, just as soon as you can possibly make it.
Don't worry, Hal. I'll be there.
Remember, as soon as you can possibly make it.
I knew Arnold Simpson, and he and I went up together. The train left Chicago and headed north, and then slightly west over Illinois and Wisconsin. Simpson and I talked it over on our way up there. Hal talked to you before he left, didn't he, Arnold?
Yes, he did. I never had enough time to get up to his lab so he could show me what it was, but his words were description enough. Frankly, I'm worried.
In what way?
Jeff, why should a new form of water life suddenly appear? Why should it destroy everything with which it comes into contact? And why should the mist or the fog appear to be so dense and heavy?
I don't know.
That's just the trouble. We don't know. Where has this form of life been, or did it just develop? What's its reason for being here?
Perhaps we'll find the answers to those questions when we get there, Arnold.
Perhaps. But I'm convinced of this much, Jeff. Whatever it is, whatever that fog is hiding, poses a new problem for us. A problem which may be unsolvable, and which could very well destroy the human race.
Simpson seemed disinclined to talk, and so we spent the remainder of the trip in silence, both of us lost in our thoughts. We arrived at the town and then hired a car to take us to the little village, where we would find Hal Enrum. The closer we came to our final destination, the darker the sky became, and the air was heavy with a mist which was both damp and clammy. It was an old rickety car, and the roads were little better than the ground on either side of it. The car stopped a few hundred feet from our destination.
You gotta walk the rest of the way.
You said you'd drive us all the way.
Look, mister, I come farther than I was going to in the first place. I ain't in no mood to go into the woods up there. If you're going to go, then you walk in.
Jeff, can't you do something?
I don't think so. Here's your pay.
Thanks.
Let's go, Arnold. It could be worse, Arnold.
I suppose so. He seemed genuinely afraid.
Aren't you?
A little.
Hey, we must be pretty close to the lake.
I've never seen the fog this thick. It's unnatural.
Eventually, we made it up to the house. Hal was there waiting for us and showed us where we would sleep. Through the window, I could see that the fog seemed to be getting thicker.
That's an eerie, lonely sound.
You get used to it after you've been here for a while.
Hal, you wrote me that this fog, the new form of life, had disappeared.
It had. But 2 days ago, it suddenly reappeared. And with it, the fog returned.
Then there must be a connection between the two.
Yes, but what? I haven't any idea. Look, I have to go down to the village for some food. We don't have enough here to feed 4 of us. Will you come with me, Jeff?
Certainly.
I'll be right back, Arnold. It's only about a mile away near the lake.
Go ahead. That trip made me tired. I think I'll take a nap.
The house in which we were staying was on a high level of ground which tapered off on the side facing the lake. It was only 3 p.m, but it looked almost as dark as late evening. And there was something about that cloudy mist. It was cold and clammy and smelled strongly of the lake. I don't see how you were able to stand it up here by yourself.
Well, I had a lot of things to interest me.
I was all ready to meet you at the station, but then when I got your call, I didn't know what to think.
I wish I could understand this, Jeff. The fog disappeared when the water life disappeared. When signs of this strange new form of life showed again, the fog came back. Why?
Maybe we can find the answer to that.
Well, I hope so. Actually, the sound of that foghorn does get on your nerves.
Yes, I can imagine it would.
You know, if this were a clear day, you could see the village from here.
Oh?
Actually, it's just a tiny resort town for fishermen and hunters. And it's located right on the westernmost tip of the lake. Imagine it must...
Help me! Help me!
It came from our right. We'd better take a look. Come on. We're getting close to the lake. If only this fog would...
Wait a minute. There, right there.
Let's take a look.
I hope he's all right.
All right. Roll him over.
Okay.
He's dead.
I know. But do you realize how he died?
What do you mean?
Look at him closer, Hal. His clothes aren't wet. Even his hair isn't wet. But look at the water trickling from his mouth. This man died less than a minute ago on dry land, 200 yards from the lake. And he died by drowning.
That's not possible.
Are you sure he drowned? There must be a doctor down at the village. Let's take him down there and see what the doctor says. Only I'm sure he'll agree with me. Together, we carried the man down to the village. Luckily for us, he was of slight build, not too heavy. It took us almost half an hour to get him down there. When we finally did arrive, it took another few minutes to locate the doctor.
What do you think, Doctor?
Get them out of here.
All right. Will you please wait outside? The doctor can't work with you in here. He's just like all the others, ain't he, Doc? Please wait outside.
Thank you.
What did he mean by he's just like all the others, Doctor?
Just what he said. Ever since this fog has settled down again, 5 people have died.
All in the same way?
Yes.
You mean by drowning?
That's right.
I can't understand how this man we found could die by drowning when he wasn't in the water. And we reached him about a minute after he screamed. How could he drown?
Professor Enroth, I've been asking myself that same question about all the others. I've been almost half insane these past 2 days trying to find the solution.
And Dr. Craig, this fog, has it always been like this in the area?
No, not until about 2 months ago.
Which coincides with the time we first discovered that new form of water life.
What did you say?
Nothing, Doctor. We're doing a little research work up here, that's all.
If this keeps up, I'm afraid of what might happen. I've never seen anything like it before. The fog, those deaths, how can they be explained?
We don't know, Doctor. We just don't know. When we got
back to the house, we discovered that Simpson had indeed taken a nap. Our arrival must have awakened him, for as we entered, he came slowly down the stairs from the second floor.
Need any help?
No, we can manage, but come out to the kitchen with us.
What's the matter with you two?
We found a dead man on our way to the village.
Are you serious?
Just set those bags on the table.
All right.
Oh, I'm not joking, Arnold. We heard a scream. It took us about a minute to get to him. He was dead when we got there.
A knife?
Drowned.
What?
On dry land, 200 yards from the lake.
You must be insane.
No, it's the truth, Arnold. And there have been 4 other deaths just like it.
When did they happen?
In the last 2 days.
Since the fog reappeared.
That's right.
Then there is a definite connection between this fog and the new life form you've discovered, Hal.
That's right. But what's the connection? We'd gotten back to the house about 6 o'clock. It was about 7 that it happened. Simpson said he was going outside for a minute. He opened the door.
I just want to get outside for a minute.
Good heavens. What's wrong? Take a look. The fog, it's so thick.
I've never seen anything like that before.
Shut the door. Some of it's getting inside.
It's moving along the floor.
Shut the door!
Did you see it?
Yes.
The fog. Just like it was alive. Moving like a living thing. Creeping along the floor.
Simpson had opened the door, the fog crept into the house in little wisps that curled and snaked this way and that. It looked like a thing alive.
You saw it, didn't you, Hal?
Yes, I saw it.
What does it mean?
I'm afraid of what it means.
You mean you know?
I hope I'm wrong, but I'm afraid I'm not. It's just possible that this form of life has developed from something that was present in the water all the time. The great brute animals ruled the world before man appeared, and then were destroyed. Eventually, mankind wrested the supremacy of the earth from the other animal and plant life. Perhaps the cycle is to continue. Perhaps, after man, this new form of life. As the minutes passed by, we noticed that little slips of the fog began inching their way through every opening of the house. It was Simpson who pointed down at the bottom of the door and first brought it to our attention. We began to plug up all the openings in the house. At first, we did it slowly, but as time passed, we worked faster and more feverishly. No matter how tired we became, we had to finish the job or the fog might claim the house, too. It was too quiet. The only thing we heard was the distant, monotonous call of the foghorn. And then Hal broke the silence. Do you know why this fog is so thick?
I wish I did.
This might be insane, but it has to be the answer. That fog is carrying moisture, a lot of it, perhaps enough to also carry this new form of life. To move it from place to place, to spread it even farther. To kill everything which stands in its way.
That might be it.
It is, I'm sure it is.
Well, in that case, what happened to break it up the first time?
And that's the solution to the problem. I don't know what it is, but it did break it up the first time. It drove it back, down to the depths from where it came. That's why there was no sign of it in the water.
That came from right outside the house.
Racco. He said he was going to arrive this evening.
We better take a look. Bring the flashlight.
Right, let's go. That light doesn't carry more than a few feet. It's so wet out here.
Over there, look.
Little pinpoints of light dancing up and down, all clustered together.
That must be it. Come on. It's spreading out.
Guys, look. There, on the ground. It's Racco. The same way. The same way as the other one. Specks of dancing luminescence had withdrawn from Racco's body, but now we noticed that there seemed to be more of them. We carried the body back to the house. We'd forgotten to close the door behind us, and some of the fog had gotten inside. It wasn't too bad, however, and little by little it began to disperse.
Look out that window.
Yes, I see them. Gathering together with a whole mass, getting larger and larger all the time, separating like the Hydra. It must be destroyed.
Yes, but how?
They created the fog. That must be the only way they can travel on land. They must have a basic water carrier.
Have you realized what this means?
What are you getting at?
The area this fog now covers is 100 square miles. Every animal in this area may lose its life. And then what happens? They divide again and again and again. And the area of the fog keeps getting larger all the time. If it isn't stopped now, while we still have a chance, it may never be stopped.
And I ask you the same question, Simpson. How?
I don't know. Someone's outside. Let them in quickly. They're moving towards the house.
Oh, thank goodness. I didn't think I'd make it.
It's a miracle that you did.
Sit down, Doctor.
Thank you. I was out for a call on my way back to town. I noticed how thick the fog was. And then I noticed the animals lying dead in the forest. The smell of their death was in the air. I continued on towards the town. And then I saw the bodies lying just where they had fallen. The whole town seemed to be covered by a strange luminescent mass which in some manner moved. I was afraid. Then I thought of you people in this house, and I got here as soon as I could.
I don't know how long we'll be able to withstand them, Doctor. I'm sure the townspeople are dead now. In fact, almost every living creature in the area must be dead.
But what is it? What caused it?
If we get out of this alive, Doctor, we'll tell you. Look outside. It must have split again. It's twice the size it was.
What are we going to do?
Look under the doorway. They're getting through.
Plug it up. Use some newspaper. Close anything. We've got to stop it. Constant opening and closing of the door. Loosen the other things we have down there.
I think that'll do.
Look, the things that did get in. First you see their light, and then they're gone. What happens to them?
Perhaps we can't see them.
Or perhaps they die.
Hal, wait a minute. Your first letters to me mentioned the fact that the mist had been dispersed. What caused it?
I don't know.
Doctor, you're a native of these parts.
Yes.
I want you to tell me about anything unusual which happened that day.
Well, I don't remember anything about that day particularly. I remember I was quite pleased to see that the fog had lifted. It was a beautiful day. Unseasonably warm. In fact, the sun was quite hot.
Heat. I wonder if what, Jeff?
These things, these Hydra-type creatures must die in the heat. This house is quite warm. The day the fog was dispersed was warm with a bright sun. Perhaps that's the answer. Doctor, is there any fire break around this area?
Well, there was one cut through the trees several years ago.
Yes.
Case of a fire, a bad one, in the heavy timberlands. Everyone was instructed to get into this area.
In other words, there's a complete fire break around this entire area.
Yes. It comprises about 150 square miles.
And that's it. It's the only chance we have. We'll burn out this area and hope it drives them back.
There's some oil downstairs.
Get it. We'll start the fire here and hope it sets fire to the trees surrounding this house.
Be right back. We'll have to make a run for it once this place is on fire. We may not come out of this alive, but we can try. The last. Good. Now, everybody knows what...
You'd better light it. Those things outside, they're going to get in.
Each man will carry a torch.
Yes.
All right, light your torches.
All right.
And then set fire to this house.
All right. Lighting mine.
All right. And yours, huh?
All right.
One more.
Right.
Under the door. They're pouring in under the door.
Set the house on fire. Let's get out of here.
No matter what happens, keep holding those torches. They're afraid of fire.
All right, make a run for it. Come on, Doctor. Forget him. Come on, run for you.
The fire caught hold and the entire area was burned out. A week later, the smoke had cleared and the fire was out. There was no sign of the fog, which had meant death to so many things. I had caught a glimpse of the doctor. He had dropped his torch and it had gone out. He was immediately engulfed in those luminescent killers. I'm going back up there with Enroth and Simpson, though there is now no trace of those things in the water. Still, we know they lurk somewhere, waiting for their moment. We must destroy them, once and for all, before that moment arrives.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama. Old Pete Belden, driver of the jitney from Carsonburg to Copper Springs, has a double load today. Pete's ancient bus is carrying the Flying Bee payroll and a passenger, his niece Betty.
Tom, hurry, hurry.
Betty, where's your Uncle Pete?
We were held up, Tom. 3 men. They took the Flying Bee payroll and headed up toward Pine Gap, and they took Uncle with them.
Come on in the house quick. We'll get the boys together and we'll go after them.
No, I'll take the jitney into town and get my car.
All right, Betty.
Hello?
Ring up the boys, man. Tell them to meet me at Pine Creek Forks. The Flying Bee payroll's been robbed. Pete Belden's been kidnapped. Tell the boys to ride.
See you later, Ma.
Be careful, Fred. Hello, May. They've gone. Have you got the other boys?
Some of them. I'm calling the blacksmith now.
Hello?
Charlie, payroll robbery. Meet the sheriff at Pine Creek Fort. Pick up Bill and Frank on the way.
I'm riding, Harry. Just let that wagon out of the way. Where's your pa, Junior?
He's back on the far section with the Reaper.
Hey there, Bill. Get down off of that.
I can't hear you. Wait a minute. No, what you say?
Somebody held up the jitney. Probably the Hicks gang. Bring your horse. They've headed for Pine Creek. Guess they're going through the gap. Hurry up and I'll meet you at Frank's.
And so, as the storm breaks around them, the sheriff's posse gathers at Pine Creek Forks, prepared for action.
Men, Hicks and his gang have been around this country too long. We're going to clean them out today. But we got to remember that old Pete Belden is with them, and we don't want him to get hurt. All right, boys, let's hit out. Come on, men. We're gaining on them.
They've seen us, Tom?
Right, fellas. They probably have fresh horses at the creek.
Hold up there. We'll set fire to the gap and stop. Whoa! Slim, you chop a couple of them small trees.
Right.
We'll spread a fire they can't get through.
These are pretty green for burning, Sam.
Grass is dry as tinder here. That'll get it started. Shorty, you get some of that dead wood burning in a hurry.
Grass is catching on. It's dry, all right.
How about the trees, Slim? Out ready?
Move back. He's coming now.
Cut another one farther back. The posse's closing in on us. Here they come. We better hold them off till this fire gets too hot to cross. Slim, Shorty, over that side.
All right.
That fire's sure too hot for us, Sheriff. And they can get out of range anytime they want to mount. Looks like they'll give us a slip.
Why couldn't you get through in my car, Sheriff? They might do something to Uncle if we don't hurry.
I'll bet we could get through in the car if we got a good start.
It's worth a try. Who'll drive it?
Don't forget he's my uncle, Sheriff. I'll drive it through myself.
You'll drive nothing. Get out and get behind the trees.
They're mounting up, Sheriff. They're heading down the creek.
All right, Jack, let's go. 2 of you men come with us. The rest of you keep firing.
Slim, come on. Follow me. All right, go on. This way.
Catherine blocks the G.
And now, the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the series of radio dramas dedicated to the supernatural, the unusual, and the unknown. Come with me, my friends. We shall descend to the world of the unknown and forbidden, down to the depths where the veil of time is lifted, and the supernatural reigns as king. Come with me and listen to the tale of Stone's Revenge.
He let him stay out there in the freezing cold, pounding on the door and yelling, "Let me in." Monroe's daughter tried to let him in, but the old man wouldn't let her. So Jeff stayed there in the freezing cold, and the girl heard him say,
"I'll make you pay for this, Monroe. For as long as Monroe lives, I'll make you pay."
And that's the end of the story? Yeah, not by a long shot, young fella. Ever since that time, people have died who stayed in that cabin. People up here say they've heard him pounding on the door and yell, "Now let me in." And when they do let him in, they die. Real strange like. They die.
The Hall of Fantasy will present Stone's Revenge in just a moment.
Jim Loring was my best friend. His sister Betty more than my friend, for we were set to be married the following November. We'd all been working pretty hard, and we figured we needed a rest, so we took a 2 weeks vacation and headed up north. Before we left the city, Jim rented a cabin from a real estate broker about 400 miles north of here. We left about 3 in the morning and drove steadily.
Hey, what time is it?
11:30.
Oh, we've made good time.
Yeah, that's right. According to the last marker we saw, we ought to be pulling into Wood Lake in a few minutes.
How far is the cabin from town, Jim?
Well, Gehring, the real estate man, said it was about 6 miles out of town.
You're, sure he said there were fish in that lake?
Some of the best fishing in the state. That's what he said.
That's what they all say.
We'll have to stop in town and pick up plenty of food.
That's right. Enough to hold us for a few days anyway.
Oh, look, up ahead. I think we're coming to it.
Oh, we are. It says, you see, Wood Lake, population 709.
Hey, big town.
You better slow down. You know these small towns.
Yeah. The broker in the city said I could get the key to the cabin from the sheriff. It seems he also owns a store here, Sheldon's General Store.
Well, if that's the case, we might as well pick up our food there.
Yeah, might as well.
Hey, look, there it is.
Huh? Oh, yeah, I see it.
Oh, open that door in a hurry. I just hope my muscles haven't frozen in this position.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that feels great.
Oh, boy. Good. Beautiful day, isn't it?
Weather report said we're in for a storm tonight, though.
Oh? Well, maybe it'll blow over by tomorrow.
Oh, it's nice and cool in here.
Yeah. Anything would be cool after driving in that hot sun.
It doesn't seem to be. Oh, yes, there is, leaning back in that chair with a paper over his face. Look.
He's sound asleep.
Pretty alert fellow, isn't he?
Yeah.
I heard that, young feller.
I was only joking.
Don't you worry none, son. I can take a joke as well as the next one. You'd be wanting something, maybe?
Yes, we rented a cabin up here, and we need some food.
And you come to the right place. Yes, sir. Now, what can I do you for?
You'd better take charge here, Betty.
All right. Well, let's see. We'll need some eggs, about 2 dozen.
Coming right up. Yeah. You come in fresh this morning? Where are you staying?
Oh, the old Monroe place. A real estate man in the city said we could pick up the key from you.
Yep, I got the key, all right. Yeah, what else, ma'am?
Well, let's see. Some bacon, a pound of coffee, pancake flour, potatoes, oranges, some cream, sandwich.
Wait a minute. Hold on, ma'am. I got what you said, but don't say no more, because if you do, I'll forget everything. So, you're staying at the old Monroe place, huh?
That's right.
Let's see now. Coffee, flour. You got a 5-pound sack of potatoes here.
Oh, that'll be fine.
Yeah. Go over there and help yourself to some oranges, ma'am, and anything else you see. Just pick it up and set it on the counter here.
All right. I guess that will be the easiest way.
Yeah.
So you're staying at the old Monroe place, huh?
You said that once before.
Yeah, I know I did. I just wanted to be sure I was hearing right.
Well, your hearing's all right, Sheriff. By the way, may we have the key?
Sure enough. It's right here under the counter, Yeah, long time since that cabin's been rented.
Oh? How come?
People just don't like to go up there.
Oh, why not? Anything wrong with it?
Not exactly. Still the best cabin around these parts. Got a nice refrigerator. Indoor plumbing. Real nice place. But you oughtn't to go up there.
Why?
Because of old Jeff Stone. People around here say they seen him up there.
Oh, he won't bother us.
Don't you count on that, young feller.
Look, if he comes around the cabin, we'll ask him to leave.
Only leaving, that'll be done. It'll be done by you.
Well, why? Is he dangerous?
Yeah, he's dangerous. And he's dead, too.
What do you mean?
Just what I said.
Well, you can't expect us to believe
I don't expect you to believe nothing. I'm just telling you what I know for a fact.
The real estate man didn't say anything about...
He's only interested in renting it. Now, you listen to what I got to say.
Well, I don't think...
Let him talk, Jim.
Thank you. I'll tell you about what happened up there. About 15 years ago it was. Old man Monroe hated Jeff Stone. Used to make life miserable for Jeff. And Jeff used to come in here and say that he was going to get even someday. And the hatred inside him would come out on the surface. And it even made me afraid. It was the winter time when it happened. Old man Monroe was in his cabin, and there was a big storm outside. One of the worst we ever had up here. His daughter was with him. She was the one who told me what happened. Jeff got himself caught outside in that storm. He knew the only place he could reach was old man Monroe's cabin. So he fought his way through the blizzard, and he got to the cabin half froze. Yeah, he pounded on the door.
Let me in! Let me in!
Old Monroe knew it was Jeff outside. He wouldn't open that door. He let him stay out there in the freezing cold, pounding on the door and yelling, "Let me in! Let me in!" Well, Monroe's daughter tried to let him in, but the old man wouldn't let her. So Jeff stayed out there and froze to death. But just before he stopped yelling, the girl heard him say,
"I'll make you pay for this, Monroe. For as long as Monroe lives, I'll make you pay."
Yes, sirree. In the morning, when the storm was over, they went outside and found him frozen to death.
And that's the end of the story?
Yeah, not by a long shot, young fella. Ever since that time, people have died who stayed in that cabin. First Monroe's daughter, then him, and then others. Anybody who went up there. People up here say they've heard him pounding on the door and yelling, "Let me in, let me in." And when the folks in the cabin let him in, they die. Real strange like. They die.
The sheriff leaned across the counter as he spoke to us. Even though the day was warm, I could feel a chill creep over me as he told us the story of one man's revenge.
So I wouldn't go up there if I was you.
Yeah, certainly a frightening story.
Yep, sure is.
Is there any other cabin around here for rent?
Well, it's been a busy season up here. Most of the places got people living in them. I got a place, though, I could let you have. Not too bad a place. Let you have it mighty cheap.
Maybe we ought to...
Nonsense. No, we'll go up to the cabin.
Well, it's all right with me.
Well, I think that about does it, Sheriff Sheldon.
All right, let me see now. 95 for coffee, 57 for bacon.
Are
eggs?
You sure we have everything we need?
Well, as long as you two manage to catch a few fish we have. If you don't, then we'll be making quite a few trips into town.
Wait till we get out in the boat.
Ha! I'll wait until I get the fish into the pan.
Yeah, it comes to $11.92. You can check my figures if you want to.
Oh, no, we trust you, Sheriff, here.
Yep, out of 12. Yes, sir. Always good to have a little business on the side, like this here store. Here's your change.
Thank you, sir.
Look, you're sure you don't want to go to my cabin, huh?
Oh, we're sure.
Well, I warned you. You're walking in with your eyes open. I hope you walk out that way. That is, alive.
It certainly is far enough away from everybody.
Mm-hmm. It's a good thing we have a map or we'd be lost.
Hey, look, I can see it.
Huh? Yeah, hey, so do I. Yeah, it looks pretty nice.
Oh, and there's the lake. Oh, it's beautiful.
Hey, can I pick him or can I pick him?
This lake is so hard to get to that I bet it hasn't been fished much.
I can hardly wait to get out there.
They ought to be hitting pretty well this afternoon, huh?
We'll get the boat off the trailer and whip that lake to a froth.
Jim,
Mm-hmm.
I heard that story that the sheriff was telling you. You don't think there was any truth to it, do you?
Of course not. You notice when he finished, he said he had a place that we could rent?
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Well, I did. He just wanted to talk us out of coming up here. Always good to have a little business on the side, he said. I wonder how many people he's talked out of coming up here with that crazy story of his.
Yeah.
Quite a few, I suppose. But it did frighten me.
We found the cabin to be in excellent condition. We moved our things in, had a bite to eat, then Jim and I unloaded the boat and went fishing, while Betty took a sunbath on the beach in front of the cabin. The big ones weren't hitting, but the panfish were. And when we came in, we had a stringer full of bluegills, crappies, and perch. Betty fixed dinner, and we had all the fish we could eat. The rest of the evening, we took it easy, listening to the radio we'd brought with us or reading. The weather report was right that day, and a little after 9 o'clock, it began to rain.
Hey, we're right about the rain.
Yeah, sounds like it'll be a good one.
I hope we don't have rain the whole time we're up here. That would be just our luck.
Hey, who turned off the radio?
I did. Nobody seemed to be listening to it.
Well, put it on, will you?
Oh.
I want to catch the rest of the news before I turn in.
If we're going to get up early tomorrow, we'd better think about turning in.
Yeah, we'll hear the news and then call it a day.
Okay.
And that's the news of the world and the national scene. As for the local news, there's... Ladies and gentlemen, a bulletin has just been handed to me. Lawrence Graham, an inmate of the State Institution for the Criminally Insane, escaped from the grounds a little more than 2 hours ago. So far, he has not been apprehended. His description follows. 6 feet tall, gray hair and brown eyes, last seen wearing gray shirt and pants. This man is dangerous. If you see him, on no account try to apprehend him, but get in touch with the local police of your area immediately. I repeat, this man is dangerous. Be very careful.
Turn it off, Betty.
The state hospital is for the criminally insane. That's pretty close to us.
I think it's about 5 or 6 miles away.
Oh, they'll catch him. Don't worry about it. He won't get away.
I hope so.
Well, I think I'm going to turn in.
Listen.
What's the matter?
I heard something.
So did I. A crash of thunder.
No, something else. I thought I heard a voice.
Oh, nonsense.
Maybe you're right. Maybe. There it is again.
I heard it, too.
Yeah, so did I.
We'd better take a look outside.
Yeah, all right.
No, don't go outside.
We'll just stand in the doorway and see if there's anything out here.
Do you see anything?
No. Nothing.
Then come back inside.
Yeah, all right. Maybe it was someone lost in the storm.
Or maybe it was the man who escaped. Or Jeff Stone. Someone is out there.
Yes, there is something out there. We'd better go see what it is.
All right, I'll...
Let me in! He's outside the door.
Let me in! Come on, let's see who it is.
Okay.
Let me in. Oh, I'm glad I found you here.
What's the matter with him?
I found him lying on the ground about half a mile from here. I've been carrying him ever since.
Here, let me help you.
Put him down over here.
All right. That does it.
What's wrong with him?
I don't know.
He doesn't seem to...
What's the matter with him?
He's dead.
Are you sure?
There's no pulse. He's dead.
Was he dead when you found him?
No. Then he must have died while you were carrying him.
Yes. The storm's pretty bad. You'd better stay here until it blows itself out.
Thanks.
Gordon.
Yes?
Come over here a minute.
All right. What do you want?
Don't talk so loud. Do you see his clothes?
Whose?
Well, not the dead man.
What's so different about them? Gray shirt and slacks?
Remember the broadcast? Gray shirt and slacks. 6 feet tall with gray hair and brown eyes. Well, that man fits the description of the one that they put out the warning about. What do you think we should do?
I don't know.
The announcer said he was dangerous.
But it might not be him.
What if it is?
Hey, what are you two talking about?
We were wondering if you'd like something to eat, sir.
No.
You live around here?
At one time.
Do you know who he is?
I remember the face very well, but the name escapes me.
What's your name?
I'd rather not say.
Well,
Why don't you drive into town and get some cigarettes, Gordon?
But we
Yes, we're almost out. I'll go right away.
But I don't
We
understand.
don't have enough, Jim.
Oh, all right, if you say so.
You ought to wear a raincoat.
No, I'll be right back. I'll get back as soon as I can with the cigarettes.
Hurry, Gordon.
Well, just a minute.
Well, young feller, it's you. Come on in. Is anything wrong?
Plenty. Did you hear the broadcast about the escaped killer?
Yep.
Well, there's a man at our cabin who fits that description.
You sure?
Yeah. He came to the cabin and he was carrying a dead man.
What'd the dead man look like?
Well, blonde, nice-looking fellow.
He's dead, huh?
Yeah. And we think the other man killed him.
The lunatic?
Yes.
He couldn't have.
Why?
Because he was captured a few minutes after that broadcast. You must have turned your radio off right after the bulletin.
Well, yes, we did. But, Sheriff, then who were the men in our cabin?
The men in your cabin? I'll tell you who they are. The young one was Tom Monroe. He was going up to see you.
Tom Monroe?
Yes.
Why?
To tell you that it just wasn't a wild story I told you. To tell you to get out of that cabin before it was too late.
Then the other man is
Jeff Stone. I told Tom not to go, but he wouldn't listen to me. He said he didn't want any more people to die up there. And so he died himself.
Sheriff, Jim and Betty are still up there.
With Jeff Stone?
Yes.
Well, we're going to have to move awful fast to save him. Come on!
The road's so slippery. I hope we can make it up to the top.
Yeah, we're almost there. Keep driving.
Yes. I almost didn't make it down. I got stuck once up there.
We'll make her.
Oh, if anything's happened to them, I don't know what I'd do.
Just pay attention to the road.
All right. Here's the spot I got stuck in before. Ah, we're not moving.
Rocker, little rocker.
Right. Ah, no, we're stuck. We're stuck good.
Then leave the car here and we'll travel the rest of the way on foot.
All right. Right. Let's get out.
I can see the lights through the trees. Come on, let's go.
All right. It's slippery.
Yeah, watch your step.
Betty! Jim, we're coming!
I can't hear you, not with this storm and all.
Oh, I thought if he heard me...
Yeah, forget it. Just watch. Are you all right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Here, I'll help you up.
Thank you.
There you are. All right, let's go.
All right.
We're almost there.
Yeah. I hope they're all right.
We'll go in quietly.
Huh?
Just open the door and walk in.
Right.
The storm ought to cover any sounds we make.
Right.
And you just let me handle this.
All right.
Here we go. It's locked.
We'll have to break it down.
Together, then. Here
All
we
right.
go.
Well, that was Betty.
We got to get that door down.
Right.
That's it. That's it.
Betty, what's wrong?
It's you.
Well, of course. I brought the sheriff with me.
Where's the man that was here?
Oh, he's gone.
I thought it was him returning when you crashed against the door. That's why I screamed. I was afraid.
Well, I want to be sure that... Yep, it's Tom Monroe, all right.
You know this man?
Yeah, he's the grandson of old man Monroe, who murdered Jeff Stone by letting him freeze to death outside. Jeff Stone's revenge is over now.
But he'd killed other people that came here, then why didn't he hurt us?
Revenge is a strange thing, ma'am. In Jeff Stone's case, I think it was strong enough to bring him back from the grave to try to even the score. And so he killed old man Monroe over again every time someone died here. And when he killed young Tom here, then his feeling for revenge left him. Why? Tom was the last of the Monroes, Mr. Blake. Jeff Stone's revenge is complete now. Yes, sir, it's complete now. And he can rest quiet in his grave.
Don't touch that dial. I must offer to you a confession. I like movies that give me a fright. If the subject is horror, I've got to see more, or I won't be contented all night. You may call it my ghoulish obsession. It's a subject on which I get chatty. But the worst one, it seems, haunting all of my dreams, was the cockroach that ate Cincinnati. I've seen ghouls and hobgoblins and witches, and some moth-eaten werewolves with fangs. There were creatures that chattered and others that clattered, and Japanese monsters with bangs. Frankenstein gives me the shakes, and Count Dracula's driving me batty. But they're not on a par with the worst one by far, the cockroach that ate Cincinnati. Oh, he must have needed a seltzer. It's amazing how much he got down. For lunch he just chew up a suburb or two, and for dinner he ate the whole town. Willard just sent me out laughing. I thought Ben looked a little bit ratty. Watch, sorry about that. But they're not half as bad as the worst scare I've had, the cockroach that ate Cincinnati. Oh, my heart nearly stopped, he will never be topped, the cockroach that ate Cincinnati. Ole!
Ole? That's dumb.
You gotta put down with it, please.
Catherine blocks the
And now, the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the series of radio dramas dedicated to the supernatural, the unusual, and the unknown. Come with me, my friends. We shall descend to the world of the unknown and forbidden, down to the depths where the veil of time is lifted, and the supernatural reigns as king. Come with me and listen to the tale of He Who Follows Me.
The Death That Walks? Well, how did he come to get that name?
Because people around here have seen him at night.
But he's dead.
That's right, he's dead. And they've seen him walking.
It must be their imagination.
It ain't their imaginations, I know. I've seen him myself.
What are you trying to do? Frighten us?
I ain't trying to frighten you none. I don't have to. He'll frighten you. Old Mr. Thomas, the death that walks. Because he'll come for you. He'll come for you.
In just a moment, the Hall of Fantasy will present He Who Follows Me.
I have before me the diary of a dead man. He and his wife were my best friends. The words he has written down tell a tale so fantastic it's almost impossible to believe. Yet I know that Bill and Helen Mason lived the last few months of their lives in dread fear of the slow steps that followed them. It is late evening as I read his words. I have come to their house, now so empty, and sit in the large, overstuffed leather chair in the library. Outside, rain pummels against the side of the house. The wind blows the fall leaves from the trees, and the sound of thunder gives vent to the anger of the storm. There's something in the house. A tension. A fear, perhaps. I feel almost as if unseen eyes were watching me. As if someone is here with me. Here in this room. And so I start to read his diary. Living words from the pen of a man who sleeps forever. March 3rd. Today, Helen and I came across one of those delightful old southern mansions.
We decided to stop and make a study of the place. And Helen was especially interested in taking some color pictures to illustrate our lecture series in the fall. Well, I guess no one will mind if we take a look around the place.
No, I'm sure they wouldn't. Oh, it's a shame that whoever owns the house and grounds let the place run down this way. It must have been beautiful in its day.
Yeah, I imagine it was, Helen. And the house could still be saved, renovated. Beautiful place.
Oh, wait a minute. I'd like to get a shot from here. If that turns out, it'll make a nice picture.
Helen?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what that building is over there.
Where?
Right over there, just in back of the house.
Oh, well, no one's to stop us. Why don't we take a look?
All right, let's do. Can't understand why anyone would let the grounds and house deteriorate so.
Well, it must have cost a lot of money to run a place as large as this, darling. The real estate office probably couldn't find a buyer.
You're probably right.
I noticed the other building doesn't seem to be so run down.
No. It's in remarkably fine condition. It must have been built a lot later than the house. Seems to be made of stone. Gray stone.
Wonder what it's used for.
Don't know. Actually, I believe that someone lived in the old house not too long ago, and I think probably the second building was constructed during that time.
Well, it's a crime to let a beautiful old place run down like this.
Well, here we are.
Bill?
Yes, dear?
It doesn't have any windows.
Yes, I noticed that. Seems rather strange. Oh, well, maybe it was used for a storehouse.
Oh, look at the door.
Well, what's the matter with it?
I think the lock's broken.
Yeah, you're right.
Why don't we take a look inside?
All right. The lock's all rusted through. There. Yeah, that does it.
And now to see what's inside.
Well, there might not be any windows, but there's a skylight that lets in the sun. Come on, let's go in.
All right. Ooh, it's so cold in here.
So I noticed. Helen...
What's that in the center of the floor?
That's just what I was going to say. This isn't a storehouse by any stretch of the imagination. It's a mausoleum. That thing in the center of the floor is a sarcophagus. Stone coffin.
There's nothing else in here. Just that thing in the center. And yet I feel as if it's crowded. As if there are things here that we can't see.
That's nonsense, darling. Hey, look, notice how the sun falls across the head of the sarcophagus.
Yes, I wonder if we have light enough to take a picture.
I doubt it, but you could try.
Well, I might as well if it turns out that.
What are you two doing in here?
We noticed the lock was broken, and so we came on in.
You shouldn't have done that.
Why not? We didn't do any harm.
I'm sure of that, but he won't like it.
Who won't like it?
The thing that sleeps in that stone coffin.
What are you talking about?
Just what I said. You didn't notice the writing over the door when you came in, did you?
What writing?
You didn't notice it then. That's a shame. Because you didn't know what you was getting into.
Getting into? Look, I'm sorry, but I just don't understand. We didn't hurt anything. We're not intending to steal anything.
Well, that don't make no difference. He doesn't care what your reasons were.
Who is he?
They called him Mr. Tanis when he was living. They call him the Death that Walks, now that he's dead.
The Death that Walks? How did he come to get that name?
Because people around here have seen him at night.
But he's dead.
That's right, he's dead. And they've seen him walking.
That must be their imagination.
It ain't their imaginations, I know. I've seen him myself.
What are you trying to do? Frighten us?
I ain't trying to frighten you none. I don't have to. He'll frighten you.
Old Mr. Thomas. The death that walks.
I think we better go, Bill.
You don't believe what I'm telling you. That's all right with me. I don't care what you believe, but you listen to what I'm saying now. If I was you, I'd get away from here as fast as I could. Not just from this place, but from the town, from this part of the country.
Why?
You want me to tell you a little of the story?
Yes.
All right. Maybe you'll believe me then. Old Thomas came here from someplace in Europe. I say old, but he really wasn't old. Just seemed that way. He brought the house and grounds here and had them cleaned up till the place looked like it was brand new. Then he started building this here building. There's something funny about Thomas, something in his eyes that made you frightened of him. His eyes, they looked like the eyes of a dead man. He didn't act like anyone I ever knew. He was always talking about death, always telling me he could come back after death. I was the caretaker then, just like I am now. After this building was completed, I used to watch him at night when he'd come out here. It seemed like he was in some sort of a trance. He'd stay out here for hours. And when he'd come back to the house, his eyes would glisten and shine, so you couldn't hardly look at him. A week before he died, he told me that as long as I lived, I was to take care of this place. Because if I didn't, he'd come back and kill me. And then he died. Just like that. And he was put in here, in this coffin. And one night, about 2 months later, when the moon was full, I heard a noise. And when I come out to look, I saw the door to this place opening and him come out in the moonlight. And I could hear his footsteps. It sounded queer and hollow-like. And I turned around and I could see his face in the moonlight, pale and pasty, sick-looking. And those eyes of his seemed like two burning coals of fire. He seemed to be looking at me. And I heard him say, "They have disturbed me, and the moon has awakened me. I shall follow them." That's what he said. And I heard it just as plain as you're hearing me. And then he vanished in the night. Towards morning, I heard his footsteps again. And I heard that big iron door closing. And I knew he was back. The next day in town, I heard that Alf Cummins had died the night before, screaming something about not meaning to go into the mausoleum. I knew who killed him.
And that's all there is to the story?
Oh, that's just part of it. It's happened again and again in the last 10 years since he's been dead. Folks around here say he'll follow you wherever you go if you come inside here.
Well, in that case, why haven't you been killed?
Because he needs me. He ain't going to kill me. But if I was you, I'd get out of this part of the country just as soon as I could.
Let's go back to the hotel, Bill.
Yes, all right, dear.
You going to get away from here?
Yes, we'd better get going.
I wish I'd have been here when you come, but I was in town getting this lock. You can't go around leaving this door unlocked. That ought to satisfy him.
There's the inscription, Bill.
Yeah, that's the writing, I mean. Got a nice sentiment, ain't it?
If you enter here, into the realm of death, I shall follow you and bring him with me. March 3rd, later. I sit here and write these words. It's quite late and the moon has risen full in the sky. Helen is standing by the window looking out. For some reason, I am frightened. And yet I know that a few months from now I shall only laugh at the memory of my fright. However, in the morning, I do believe that we will leave this place.
All through?
Yes, for tonight at least. I think we'll be leaving tomorrow, Helen.
Oh, I'm glad. I don't believe the caretaker story, and yet I'm afraid.
Yeah. It's a beautiful night.
Yes, isn't it? That moon so big and full that it could... Bill,
Yes, dear?
look down there at the street. There's a man down there.
Oh, there's nothing to be...
Bill! He's looking straight up at us and pointing to us and... Look at his face, Bill. Look at his face.
Pale, pasty looking. And his eyes like two burning coals of fire.
As I read these pages, the words stare up at me, and their formations bring to life a nameless terror which I feel all around me. Outside, the storm still rages, yet the sound of it fades from my mind as the terror in the pages of the volume I hold before me becomes increasingly apparent. March 3rd. Still later. The man down in the street, whomever he was, left after about 10 minutes. He has given us quite a fright.
Where I felt any doubts as to whether or not we should leave this place, they've all been dispelled now. Helen has just gone to bed. I think I shall do the same.
If we're going to leave in the morning, you'd better get to sleep, Bill. I want to get out of here as soon as I can.
Yes, I was just coming to bed, Helen.
That man we saw...
Yes?
It might be only coincidence.
Do you really believe that, Helen, or are you trying to talk yourself into it?
I guess I'm trying to rationalize it, and I'm afraid I'm not doing a very good job of it.
I don't know what to believe. It could be coincidence, but somehow I'm afraid it isn't.
Then you think that...
Maybe. Now, don't worry about it, Helen. By tomorrow, we'll be several hundred miles from here. And I doubt if whomever it was will follow us.
No, listen. They sound just like the steps the caretaker described to us.
Yes, but we saw him walk away.
Didn't Billy's in the room upstairs?
Well, it's probably someone else.
It's not. I know it's not.
All right. Just a minute. I'll call the desk. This is William Mason in 316. Can you tell me who has the room directly above mine? Clerk's going to check. Yes? Oh, I see. No, thank you very much.
What did the clerk say?
The room directly above ours is unoccupied. March 4th. We left the hotel a short time after we heard the steps. We went immediately to our car and drove all night and all day, and are stopping now in a motel almost 1,000 miles away. It's reassuring to know that he could not possibly follow us. I am very tired. We'll go to bed and get an early start in the morning. Helen, you asleep?
No.
What are you thinking about?
The words that were written above the mausoleum door. If you enter here into the realm of death, I shall follow you and bring him with me. Phil?
Yes, I hear them too.
He couldn't possibly have come this far, could he?
I don't know. What's the matter?
His whole face. Pressed against the window.
It's not there now.
He was there for just a few seconds. I saw it, Bill. The same man we saw last night outside the hotel. He was right outside the window.
March 5th. This morning when I went in to pay the bill, the man who owns the motel said a strange, pasty-faced man had been in earlier and told him to tell me that he would follow me. March 11th. It's impossible to get any material together that'll help me in my work. Everywhere we go, he's there also. March 16th.
Yeah, Mr. Mason, this guy said it was all right for you to go on ahead because he was going to follow you.
March 22nd.
No, he didn't leave a name. He just said that he'd be in touch with you.
April 7th.
Never saw anyone who looked like that before. Is he a friend of yours, Mr. Mason?
April 18th.
He said he'd follow you.
April 29th.
Told me to say he'd follow you.
May 15th.
Follow you.
Follow you.
Follow you.
Follow you.
Follow you.
Follow you.
No, I can't stand it. I can't stand
I wish there was something I could do, Helen, but there's nothing. I've done my best to lose him, but I can't.
I want to go home, Bill.
Oh, if we go home, it'll be the same thing.
Maybe it won't. But I can't stand this anymore.
All right, darling. We'll leave for home right away. June 23rd. We arrived home this evening. I called Gary as soon as I could. He said he'd be out within the hour to see us. He wasn't able to help us in any way. I really didn't expect any help. I was hoping that he might be able to offer some concrete suggestion as to what to do. However, last night was the first night in months that we haven't been aware of his presence. Maybe Helen is right. Perhaps he won't follow us here. July 3rd. We've not seen or heard anything unusual since we first came home. I feel as a man might feel who has been given a new lease on life. July 10th. Still nothing. August 19th. For the past 2 months, a feeling of peace and security has enveloped the house. Helen and I have been able to go around with no sense of danger nor of dread. But last night, that feeling was shattered. Gary had come out for dinner. It was almost 10 o'clock.
Well, it's about time for me to get along.
Oh, it's only 10, Gary. Sure you don't have to go so soon.
I'm afraid I must, Helen. Tomorrow's a working day for me.
I thought I might be able to get you into a game of chess.
Oh, some other time, Bill.
Well, next time, don't stay away so long.
Don't worry. I think we ought to... Tell me, is someone upstairs?
No.
Well, listen.
He's back.
Who's back?
The man we told you about. Those are his footsteps. I'd know them anywhere. I should. I've heard them enough.
What are you going to do?
Look, will you come upstairs with me, Gary?
Yes, of course.
You stay here, Helen.
Oh, don't go up there, Bill. Don't let him, Gary.
No, Helen. This time I'm going to meet him face to face.
Then I'm going with you.
No, you're not. You're going to stay right here. You ready, Gary?
Yes.
Okay, let's go.
Be careful.
As careful as we can.
If he is up there, what are you going to do?
I don't know. We'll find that out when the time comes. Those steps came from the guest room.
I don't hear anything.
Well, let's see if he's in there. Stand back, Gary. I'm going to open the door.
Right.
It's empty. There's no one in here.
But I heard someone up here.
Yes, he was here, but he's gone. I can feel it when he's near me. I know that... Come on. Helen! Helen, where are you? Helen!
There she is. In the front room.
Helen. What's the matter, Helen? Helen, answer me.
She can't, Bill. She's sitting there with her eyes wide open. She's dead.
August 23rd. We buried her today. As I sit here in the empty house writing this, I know that Thomas will come for me, too. I am writing this in the hope that someone will find it, read it, and maybe understand my death. It's lonely here, yet suddenly I have the feeling that I'm not alone. Someone is here with me. He is here, in this room with me. I'm afraid to turn and meet him. To have those eyes of his burning into me. And yet, Yet I must. I pray that someone reads this. Perhaps he will...
I've read the manuscript in full. The August 23rd entry was the last he ever made. The feeling of creeping horror that runs through the pages has imparted itself to me. And I sense that someone is here with me. Of course, I realize that it's only my imagination. But I can't shake that feeling. There is someone here. Who are you?
Who do you think I am?
So runs tonight's tale of the unusual, the terrifying, the unknown. Join us again when next we journey down the corridors of the Hall of Fantasy to hear another strange tale of the supernatural. All characters and events portrayed in these programs are fictional, and any similarity to actual events or persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental.